Hello, and welcome to another week at the bungalow. So for the next couple of weeks, got some videos of lots of jobs that we had to get done prior to the main family room downstairs being plastered. So with all these things, it takes absolutely ages. But we needed to get them all done, needed to get the plasterboard up and all finished, and then get the plasterers round. So lots of little odd jobs. This is one of them. So decision was made that we needed some power on the balcony area, and also needed some lighting, whether that be for fairy lights in trees or lights outside, whatever it might be. So additional cable needed to go in. This wasn't thought about initially, but it runs through and from the consumer unit downstairs, so it's one of those things that needed to go in before we plasterboard the things like the kitchen, which is where most of the cables run through. So supply cable was run all the way downstairs through the ceiling joists, and then we're fishing it up and through this wall. So with the upstairs having already been plastered and the outside not having yet been cladded, we're going to go in through the external boarding. So far, like I say, I've got the cable across from the consumer unit for our outside lighting of varying descriptions. We've got all sorts going out the front and in the back garden, so it's got its own switch in the consumer unit, or circuit I should say. And then the cable is run up through behind a plug socket that runs inside. And then, like I say, there I've exposed through into the wall. Got a stud or noggin running across, and then the cable runs up and through the noggin, and then up into the light switch above. So insulation slides back in, and we can cover it back up again once that's all done. Joint all masticed, and then the external breathable membrane go back down and get taped into place. So this is pretty much directly behind the plug socket in the room. And the idea being we fish them up into the plug socket, the cables come across and down from the light switch, and then the two of them can be pulled through the wall to the junction box on the outside. So I've got a single cable that I've sort of poked through, and then we pull through the cables to the outside. Get the kink out the cable, and then the plug socket can go back into place. And no one will be ever the wiser. Back on the outside, cables labelled that are going inside the box, ready for connection to something else at some other point. So we've got a switch cable and a supply, both going into the box. Both these boxes, when the cladding goes on the outside, will be moved to the opposite side of the cladding, which is why there's a bit of slack on the cables. So they'll be screwed onto the outside. Just leaves the plug socket to be wired up. So the exterior socket that we bought is also a Wi-Fi extender. Thought process being Going to want Wi-Fi outside or on the balcony or in the garden. This is sort of the ideal location for it. And with all the insulation that we've got in the walls and in the ceiling, there's a lot of tin foil on the outside of that as the vapor barrier, and so just to stop any problems with interference on the Wi-Fi, external extender is fitted as well. So this one's absolutely vital. I don't expect you're not going to be able to get away with just cables flapping around on the wall like this. So here we've got an awful lot, because this is all the switches by the front door. So we've got external lights, internal stuff. We're hoping that there's a couple of cables that are going to come down that will control the electric gate and also the intercom for that. So all this is running down here. So I think there's about 7 or 8 cables in total. So just capping it over with the plastic, I don't know what else it's called other than capping. And then galvanised nails just hold it into place into the block. There we have it. Sorts that right out. Ready for plastering. This is another one of those road cables that have been flapping around. This one we're also changing slightly so that the ring main runs into the bathroom, because we're going to put the washing machine and tumble dryer at the end of the bathroom, so save it being in the kitchen and having to take clothes into the kitchen. The washer dryer will be in the bathroom. We've managed to rejig, or Claire's had a redesign of the bathroom area so that we can fit that in as well. So it meant extending the downstairs ring main into the bathroom. And so while we're at it, capping goes on top of that as well. And then the plug socket back on. This is one of the ring mains that's actually live at the moment, because we're actually using it. So we've got a couple of ring mains working at the moment, upstairs and down. Another important one, insulation we're putting in between the floors. This is to stop or try and reduce the amount of noise coming through from upstairs, obviously with it being a bedroom and a kitchen. We've got the pink fire rated plasterboard going on top of this as well, so that obviously is going to help quite a lot. And then the wooden floor that's upstairs is going to be floating on the chipboard floor that we put down to keep the two apart and stop some noise transfer, so you won't hear people wandering around upstairs, hopefully. But it's just another belt and braces, 100mm of rock wool going in there, just to try and deaden it a little bit more before we get the plasterboard up. So moving on nicely. More jobs next week as far as finishing off before we get the plasterers in. We can get the downstairs family area plastered. And this is the hallway area where you saw me doing the capping of all the cables. So another week draws to a close. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one.